Everyone, thank you for being here today. The ancient Greeks carried a simple compass for a complicated life: moderation, not mediocrity, but mastery over extremes. Balance is not living small, balance is living centered, so you can aim high without tipping over. When people tell me, I don't have time for my family, I don't have time to take care of my body, I don't have time to sit still and think, I hear a life slipping out of rhythm. Here's the paradox. The very moment you feel most too busy is the moment you most need to stop, breathe, and recalibrate. Urgency with no clarity burns you out. Clarity with no action stalls you out. Balance is the art of holding both, so your days move forward and your heart stays whole. Let me give you a question that slices through noise like a blade. What would you do if you had only 6 months to live? Imagine a clock above every doorway you walk through, its hands sweeping visibly, reminding you that every conversation and every choice is an irreversible trade of life for something. What gets cut? What gets protected? Who gets your attention? What projects suddenly become trivial? Who do you forgive? Who do you finally call? Most of us already know the answers. We're just waiting for permission. Consider this your permission. If your answer is, I would spend more time with the people who matter, then the right time is now, not when the calendar screams urgent and the soul whispers too late. Now consider a second question that aims in the other direction, toward your calling. Picture this. You are financially independent, 20 million in the bank, excellent health, and 10 vibrant years ahead. You can't drift. You must work at something that matters. If you could wave a wand and wake up with all the skill and confidence you need, what field would you step into? Don't dismiss that answer because it scares you. Follow it like a trail. Read 3 books, watch master classes, buy someone coffee and ask honest questions, volunteer 1 evening a week, ship a small project on the weekend. You do not leap across a canyon in a single bound. You build a bridge plank by plank. I have watched thousands make that pivot. Some moved within the same company into roles that made their eyes light up. Others changed industries entirely. A few redefined themselves after years of telling a smaller story. When your work lines up with your wiring, energy returns, creativity surges, and excellence becomes sustainable. Passion is jet fuel, but only when it's attached to a vehicle called practice. Now I want to hand you a lens that will double your effectiveness faster than almost anything else, the law of 3. Open a page and list everything you do in a typical week. Meetings, emails, planning, sales, research, building, leading, learning, follow-ups, reports. You'll write 20, 30, maybe 40 items. Now ask, if I could do only one activity on this list all day, which single action would create the greatest positive impact in my results in life? Circle it. Ask again for a second. Circle it. Ask again for a third. Circle it. You will discover something both humbling and empowering. 3 activities account for the majority of the value you create: your income, your impact, your satisfaction. The remaining items range from necessary to negotiable, but they are not your power lanes. Clarity is courage wearing glasses. When you see your big 3, you stop scattering your strength across dozens of low-leverage tasks. You do fewer things, but you do more important things for longer, and you get better at them relentlessly. Focus multiplied by frequency multiplied by improvement equals momentum. This isn't abstract. It's a redesign of your day. Place your big 3 in the brightest hours of your brain. Batch shallow work into short windows. Put routine chores on rails with checklists and automations. Learn to outsource. Learn to say, not my lane. Your calendar should be a mirror of your actual priorities, not a museum of other people's urgencies. And yes, your big 3 will evolve. Revisit the list monthly. Growth changes your leverage points. To support this, I teach 4 inner commitments, the 4 Ds. Desire, a real burning want to stop living by accident and start living on purpose. Decision, a firm internal yes to becoming excellent at managing time and energy. Without decision, desire is a daydream. Discipline, the daily practice of the right behaviors until they become your default. Time management is self-discipline in motion. Determination, the refusal to quit when the novelty fades. The grit to endure the quiet repetitions where mastery lives. Put those 4 Ds into your week and the week bends. Why such intensity about minutes and hours? Because time management is life management. Hours aren't neutral, they are seeds. Plant randomly, harvest randomly. Plant deliberately, harvest deliberately. The world does not pay you for effort. It pays you for outcomes, for the problem solved, the value delivered, the promises kept. That is not harsh, it is liberating. Your rewards stretch with your results. You do not have to be the loudest or the longest at the office. You have to be the most effective with the moments you hold. Let's be honest about the modern workplace. Entire mornings evaporate into chatter, pings, and quick checks that were neither quick nor checks. That is your opportunity, because excellence is never crowded. Decide that your desk will begin and end the day clean. Not because neatness is a moral badge, but because clarity accelerates execution. A chaotic environment tells your brain we're overwhelmed. A clean environment says we're in control. The perception of your work becomes part of your reputation. Your space becomes a story people tell themselves about your effectiveness. Write that story intentionally. From neatness, rise to focus. Focus is not merely looking at something. Focus is eliminating what competes. Ask yourself each morning, why am I on the payroll? What are my key result areas? What 20% of my efforts produce 80% of my outcomes? Keep adjusting the camera until the shot is sharp. Fuzzy focus makes fuzzy results. Crystal focus makes crystal results. With focus comes concentration, the brave habit of doing one meaningful thing until it's done. Not nibbling, not juggling 10 tabs and calling it multitasking, but finishing. That habit alone will build a reputation faster than any marketing campaign, because finished work creates trust, and trust compounds. Here's the most practical productivity move I know. Each morning, make a list of potential tasks. Then ask, which single task, if completed today, would produce the greatest positive consequences? Circle it. Start there, start now. Work on it without flinching until it is done. This one habit flips anxiety into momentum, and there's chemistry behind it. Meaningful completion triggers a cocktail of neurotransmitters that lift mood, sharpen creativity, and reinforce confidence. Wins create energy for more wins. Momentum is not magic. Momentum is math. Of course, all of this requires our familiar friend, self-discipline. Task completion is not luck, it is structure. Put your tools where you can't miss them. Put your phone in exile when you need deep work. Use timers and checklists. Pre-decide your response to friction. If stress spikes, breathe for a count of 10 and walk for 5 minutes. If you miss a morning block, reschedule a shorter one at lunch. Non-negotiable. Discipline is not never missing. Discipline is returning quickly. The champions you admire do not avoid stumbles. They compress recovery time. Money is part of this conversation because money magnifies your habits. Learn your effective hourly value. If you earn $100,000 across roughly 2,000 hours, your time is $50 per hour. Guard your prime hours like a priceless asset, because they are. Do not spend your best cognitive bandwidth on $10 chores. Delegate, automate, eliminate. Put your highest energy against your highest leverage. That shift alone can double your output without adding a minute to your week. Now, back to the law of 3, because this is where transformation becomes visible. List your tasks. Ask the 3 questions. Circle your big 3. Then re-engineer tomorrow so at least one of those 3 is touched before the world touches you. Zoom out weekly to review what worked, what didn't, what you'll change, and elevate your performance inside those top lanes. Study, get feedback, rehearse. Fewer things, more important things, more often, done better. Say it until it becomes your operating system. Identity matters. Many of us cling to being busy. It feels virtuous, but busyness is often procrastination in disguise. Trade the identity of busy for the identity of effective. Effective people don't worship hours. They respect sequence. They know starting is magic, but finishing is what pays. Effective people are not hostile to rest. They see rest as a performance enhancer. They are not allergic to no. They wield no as a scalpel to protect their yes. All this sits on something deeper, character. One definition I love says character is the ability to follow through on a resolution after the mood in which the resolution was made has passed. Anyone can be committed at the starting line. Character is what keeps moving on lap 63 when nobody's clapping. Character is self-discipline in action, the willingness to make short-term sacrifices for a long-term life you're proud to live. Let's stitch balance, purpose, focus, and discipline into a daily rhythm. Each week, begin with the 6-month question to reset your priorities. Let it humble you into presence. Then run the 10-year, well-funded scenario to clarify your contribution. Let it pull you towards service. From there, apply the law of 3 to your work so your calendar stops lying and starts telling the truth. Layer the 4 Ds to sustain your practice when novelty fades. Calculate your hourly value to shape your yes and your no. And then finish what you start today. Completion becomes your signature. I want you to imagine tomorrow morning in detail. Before the world makes a single demand, you claim the first hour. You move your body to wake your mind. You open a notebook and write 3 lines. What you're grateful for, the single win that would make today a success, and the one distraction you refuse to indulge. You open your most valuable task and begin. No fanfare, no negotiation, just the quiet dignity of a person who knows their direction. By lunchtime, you have shipped something that matters. By evening, you have protected your people with your presence. That is balance. Not the absence of ambition, but ambition aligned with what you refuse to sacrifice. You do not need a different life to feel this power. You need a different approach to the life you already have. The world will still be loud. Deadlines will still knock. But inside, you will be steady. Because you chose to be the person who asks better questions, sets clearer priorities, makes stronger decisions, and follows through, especially when the mood is missing. You will notice the small evidences first. Fewer frantic scrambles, more finished work, fewer apology texts, more done messages, fewer late-night mind spins, more deep sleep. When discouragement visits, and it will, remember that results lag behind right behavior. You plant now, you water next week. You see shoots next month, you harvest next season. Trust the lag, respect the lag. Do not dig up seeds to check if they're growing. Keep tending. Compounding is the invisible engine of big change. A page a day becomes a manuscript. A workout a day becomes a baseline athleticism. A focused hour a day becomes a career that surprises people who thought you needed a miracle. You don't need a miracle. You need a method practiced long enough to become identity. Guard your inputs, the content you consume, the conversations you entertain, the rooms you walk into. All of it trains your nervous system. Replace doom scrolling with deliberate learning. Replace gossip with grateful dialogue. Replace clutter with cues that point you to your priorities. Your brain is a prediction machine. Give it better data. Generosity belongs in this system because it rewires scarcity into sufficiency. When you give your attention, your help, your resources, you prove to your mind that you have enough to share. That posture creates confidence, and confidence attracts opportunities that grinding alone cannot. People remember how you make them feel, seen, heard, helped. Opportunities travel along those invisible bridges. Leadership begins when you take ownership of your circle of influence, starting with yourself. Lead your thoughts, lead your calendar, lead your energy, then lead where you work, live, and serve. Leadership is not a title, it's a pattern of behavior that lifts standards and raises sights. The world has plenty of critics. It needs builders. Be the builder who finishes things that matter. When self-doubt whispers, answer it with receipts. Keep a proof journal. Record the promises you kept this week. The workout's done, the pages written, the clients served, the conversations handled with grace, the distractions denied. Give your brain hard evidence that you are not who you were last year or last month. You are a process trending upward. Now, return once more to moderation, to balance, to the Greek wisdom we started with. Balance is not standing still. Balance is staying steady while you move. Balance means you can pursue excellence without breaking the people and principles that make the pursuit worthwhile. Balance means you can sprint when it's time, rest when it's needed, and never confuse either for your identity. Balance is a decision repeated. To trade frantic for focused, busy for effective, noise for signal, applause for results, and fear for action. There will be days when you don't feel like it. Good. You do not need to feel like it. You need to be willing. Lower the activation energy, read one paragraph, write for 5 minutes, do 5 push-ups, make the call, open the file. The first step pulls you through resistance and into motion, and if it doesn't, you still kept the promise. You still strengthen the identity that will carry you tomorrow. So choose now. Ask the 6-month question and schedule the priority it reveals. Run the 10-year, fully funded scenario and take one small step toward that calling tonight. Make your list and circle the 3 that matter most. Design your environment to make the right move easy. Put your best hours against your highest leverage. Finish something meaningful before midday. Then be present with your people when the sun goes down. That is a day you will be proud to repeat. That is a day that compounds into a life you will be proud to live. You don't have to chase significance. Live with integrity and let significance find you. You don't have to beg for doors to open. Build the skills, carry the character, and knock like someone who belongs in the room. You don't have to prove your worth. You are already worthy. Now act like it. Patiently, persistently, courageously. The life you want is not waiting at the finish line. It is waiting in the next faithful step. Take it, and then take the next one. Because you are capable, you are ready, and you're just getting started. And because you're just getting started, let's turn the idea of balance, focus, and disciplined action into something you can live today. Imagine you wake up tomorrow with a quiet, steady certainty. Not hype, not pressure, certainty. You pour a glass of water, you breathe slowly, you remind yourself that a meaningful day isn't a mystery, it is a design. You walk to your desk, or the kitchen table, or the corner where you keep your notebook, and you answer 3 questions in ink. What matters most? What will move it forward? What will I finish? That's where an ordinary morning becomes a decisive one. The first move is small by design. You aren't auditioning for perfection, you're establishing ownership. Ownership over the first hour. Ownership over the first promise. That's where the identity shift begins. You stop waiting for motivation and start manufacturing momentum. And momentum, like a flywheel, resists you at first and then begins to assist you. Push it long enough and it pushes back, in your favor. Picture a 30, 60, 90 arc that you can repeat endlessly. In the first 30 days, your goal is not to be impressive, it is to be consistent. You collect easy wins with high integrity. 1 deep work block daily, 1 movement session daily, 1 meaningful conversation daily, 1 small act of courage daily. In the next 30 days, you turn the dial from consistency to competency. You refine technique, remove friction, shorten recovery time after interruptions, and measure your progress with candor. The final 30 days of the arc, you emphasize capacity. You expand what you can hold. Slightly longer focus blocks, slightly harder workouts, slightly braver conversations, slightly more complex projects. Never reckless, always rhythmic. After 90 days, you don't need to reinvent yourself. You simply restart the arc from a higher baseline. That's how ordinary days quietly become extraordinary outcomes. There's a truth about balance that we avoid when we're scared. Balance requires boundaries. You cannot honor your family while surrendering every evening to other people's emergencies. You cannot maintain health while treating sleep like an optional accessory. You cannot build mastery while drowning in shallow work. Boundaries are not walls against the world. They are gates that protect what matters so you can serve the world better. The most loving thing you can do for your people is to become the clearest, healthiest, most reliable version of yourself. And that requires saying no often and well. If saying no feels uncomfortable, give yourself language that is firm and kind. I'm honored you asked. I'm focused on a commitment with a hard deadline and can't give this the attention it deserves. Or, I'm protecting a non-negotiable time block for family this evening. If timing changes, I'm happy to revisit. You are not rejecting people. You are respecting priorities. And respect is contagious. When you live by clear standards, you give others permission to raise theirs. Let's talk about the most underestimated muscle in personal growth, recovery. Not the recovery of idleness, but the recovery of precision. Sleep that repairs, nutrition that stabilizes, stillness that resets, laughter that restores, sunlight that signals your body to be awake when it's day and willing to rest when it's night. The people with the longest careers and the deepest impact treat recovery like training. They block it, they protect it, they don't apologize for it. Why? Because fatigue makes cowards of us all. It shrinks our courage, our creativity, and our patience. Recovery expands them. If you ever fear that balance will make you soft, remember this. Discipline is the spine of balance. The person who knows how to stop and the person who knows how to sprint are the same person when they practice. You're not trying to be calm all the time. You're trying to be appropriately intense at the right times. That's what the law of three enables. You can pour yourself into what matters and still have enough left for the people you refuse to neglect. Now, about those people, there is a kind of wealth that never shows up on a bank statement, the wealth of trust. Relationships thrive on rituals, 5-minute check-ins that prevent 5-hour arguments, uninterrupted dinners that protect a household's heartbeat, walks without phones where ideas and feelings can wander safely, gratitude spoken out loud, not just thought silently. When you choose rituals over randomness, connection stops being an accident and becomes an architecture. Inside your work, raise the signal-to-noise ratio. Schedule focus sprints, 40 to 90 minutes with your phone away and notifications off. Put a blank sheet of paper beside you. When an unrelated thought pops up, email Sarah, order filters, check shipping, write it down and return to the task. That simple parking lot saves your focus. End each sprint by writing the next first step you'll take when you return. The friction will be lower, the restart faster, and the odds of completion higher. Completion matters more than effort because completion compounds. A finished draft can be edited. A perfect idea stuck in your head cannot help anyone. A delivered proposal can win or lose. An almost sent email wins nothing. A workout you did, even if imperfect, strengthens the identity you're building. The ideal plan you skipped strengthens doubt. If you want the chemistry of confidence, give your brain what it's craving: evidence. Evidence is why I love the proof journal. Each evening, write 3 micro wins you might otherwise overlook. You protected your big 3 block. You said no without guilt. You took a walk instead of doom scrolling. You left your desk clean. You finished the draft you'd been avoiding. It takes 3 minutes. Over time, those pages become a ledger of credibility between you and you. On hard days, read your receipts and remember, you are not your worst moment. You are your longest pattern. When fear shows up, and it will, assume it means you are steering toward something meaningful. Fear often masks itself as smart-sounding delay. Research more. Wait until it's perfect. Tomorrow will be better. Counter fear with micro-courage. Send the message, ask for feedback, publish the post, request the meeting, state your fee, set the boundary. Micro-courage daily becomes macro-confidence monthly. The most dangerous distractions aren't always loud. They are logical. An inbox looks productive. A meeting feels important. Use a simple test. Does this move my big 3? If no, batch it, delegate it, or delete it. And if you must attend a meeting, insist on an agenda and a decision owner. Meetings without decisions are social hours in disguise. Let's widen the lens to finances again, not to obsess over money, but to align money with meaning. Spend in ways that reduce decision fatigue: meal planning, calendar software, a better chair, a gym membership you actually use. Invest in skills that make your next hour worth more than your last. Avoid purchases that impress strangers and burden your future. Wealth is the freedom to choose your calendar. Nothing you can buy is more luxurious than that. What about the days that go sideways? The project derails, the car won't start, the toddler gets sick, the client disappears. This is where your reset ritual earns its keep. Step 1, acknowledge without dramatizing. Step 2, shrink the next action until it's laughably small. Step 3, breathe, move your body, drink water. Step 4, finish one tiny task to win back momentum. Strength isn't a lack of interruption, it's a reliable way back. There's a simple way to ensure all of this remains human and not mechanical. Remember the 6-month question. When you're tempted to trade every evening for a little more reputation, look 6 months forward. Would you be proud of the trade you're making tonight? When you're tempted to drift back into a role that pays well but starves your soul, look 6 months forward. Would you be grateful you stayed or grateful you began? When you're tempted to let your health be the scapegoat of your ambition, look 6 months forward. Would you thank yourself for sleeping, moving, and refueling, or would you be writing apologies to your own body? Balance does not mean equal hours. It means aligned hours. If the season demands a sprint, sprint on purpose and put a finish line on it. If the season invites recovery, recover without guilt. Life is not a perfectly even scale. It's a living score you conduct. Crescendos and rests both belong in songs that endure. I want you to hear this in your bones. You are not late. You are not behind. You are precisely on time for the next faithful choice. A single degree of change in your daily heading will put you in a different ocean by year's end. You don't need permission from perfect circumstances. You need participation from the version of you who is brave enough to start messy and finish strong. So here is a compact, living blueprint you can begin tonight, no waiting. Wake tomorrow and claim the first hour. Drink water, move your body, write what matters. Choose your single highest leverage task. Begin before the world logs on. Protect one deep work sprint. Say one courageous no. Give one person your undivided attention. Close the day with a proof journal entry and a simple instruction to your future self. Clean your space. Power down. Sleep like performance fuel, because it is. Repeat this blueprint imperfectly. Let it breathe. Let it flex around real life, but refuse to abandon it. That refusal is how identity hardens into character, and character, quiet, steady, relentless, will carry you through seasons when motivation evaporates and applause goes missing. And when your head hits the pillow, let the final thought be gratitude for the simplest, strongest truth of the day. You kept a promise to yourself. That is the seed of a life you trust. That is how moderation becomes mastery, how balance becomes power, how the law of 3 becomes results, how the 4 Ds become a lineage of days you're proud to own. Walk into tomorrow with a calm fire. The world does not need a louder you. It needs a truer you, balanced, brave, and built on finished work. You are capable, you are ready, and you're still always just getting started.